And welcome back to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Joining me now is the NYSE Head of Corporate Affairs, Josh King. I love it when you join us because we get such great perspective from you. Talk me through how significant it is for the New York Stock Exchange to celebrate with the men and women who protect and serve our country.
Well, thanks, Allison. I mean, you heard it from so many people that you talked to today, the captain and the lieutenant, all the other guardsmen that you talked to. Right now, we are covering the world of finance on NYSE TV Live, but there's a hurricane bearing down in the Caribbean, Hurricane Beryl. And at this very moment, Coast Guardsmen are making preparations to safeguard American facilities, American people. I talked up in the boardroom about that evacuation of all the people in Houston after Hurricane Harvey, what the Coast Guard did right here in this neighborhood after 9/11, 500,000 people safely evacuated when all the bridges and tunnels were closed. But the bigger issue that I talked about, which I think I heard Captain Andrejczyk tell you, was that this whole idea of a revenue service, revenue cutters, came about in the very same group of thoughts that brought the New York Stock Exchange to life 232 years ago, which is we need orderly and efficient markets. We're a young country. We need to be able to trade with other countries. We can't have piracy. We can't have threats to our ports. And so Alexander Hamilton, in addition to all of these other great things that he did, said, oh yeah, Mr. President Washington, can you also sign this thing called the Tariff Act, which is going to authorize the construction of 10 little boats, we're going to call them cutters, to guard the Port of Boston, the Port of New York, the Port of Philadelphia, the Port of Charleston, the Port of Savannah. And that is an endemic part of what brought our democracy to life. The idea that a ship laden with goods, either departing here for Europe or coming in here to trade, was going to be safe in our harbors. That's what the Coast Guard does in a way that is not recognized every day. Of course, we're going to recognize tomorrow night, while there's a barge that's going to shoot off fireworks all over the Hudson River, that the Coast Guard is going to keep a safe perimeter and keep everybody safe. But the very flow of that $50 trillion of commerce in and out of our ports, that's what we thank the Coast Guard for.
And thanks so much for that perspective. You know, the exchange plays host to the U.S. military as well as organizations who make a difference in America and all over the world. What is it about being here at the NYSE, that brings more significance of these types of events?
Well, I think, if you think back to, so we had the Coast Guard today. I've hosted the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro. We hosted the Chief of Staff of the Army, Randy George. We've had the representatives of the Air Force. We have the Marines every year on their birthday. The one abiding document that all of them serve, that allows us as Americans to think of the freedoms and liberties that we're going to enjoy and celebrate tomorrow on July 4th, is the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution, that single document, is what allows the New York Stock Exchange and its listed 2,400 listed companies to flourish. So every day, while we host military, 5-10 times a year, we could host them every day of the year because of the incredibly important and non-negotiable role that they play in safeguarding American democracy, American freedom, and American values, which allows places like the New York Stock Exchange to flourish.
You've given us so much to think about on the eve of our nation's birthday. Josh King, thanks so much.
Thank you much.